What is going on, Dodger fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to the World Series Preview 2025 edition of the Incline Dodgers podcast presented by BLEAV and TickPick. The Dodgers are on a plane to Toronto, this time for real with Shohei Ohtani, as they take on the Toronto Blue Jays, who will be hosting the first two games beginning Friday evening at 5 p.m. Pacific. October 24th, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers. We don't know who's starting game one for the Blue Jays just yet, but we can kind of start to speculate. We do know who is starting for the Dodgers in game one. That is Blake Snell, who has been absolutely electric. We're going to do a full preview of this Blue Jays Dodgers World Series. It's the first time these two teams have ever squared off in a World Series. The Blue Jays have not been to the World Series since 1993, which was the last time they won. On the flip side, the Dodgers haven't been to a World Series since 2024. 1 year ago. So they're looking to be the first team to repeat since the New York Yankees, who did that 98 through 2000. What's going on, Jake Reiner? Let's get into this. Dodgers, Blue Jays, what are your opening thoughts?
My opening thoughts are that I'm excited for the World Series, and it was during maybe after the first game the Dodgers won against the Brewers in the NLCS, I really started to think, like, we're going to do this. Like, we're going back to back. Like, this is it right here. And the way that the Dodgers dismantled the Brewers was phenomenal. And it just goes to show you that nothing that happened in the regular season matters. It's like you get a clean slate. Even each round is a clean slate. It's like, doesn't matter what you did in the previous round because we're starting over in the next round. So that's what's beautiful about playoff baseball. And the Dodgers faced the Blue Jays during the season, and I believe they took 2 out of 3 from them. And it was interesting because the Blue Jays are a team that doesn't strike out a lot, and the Dodgers are a team that strikes a lot of guys out. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Dodgers starting pitching staff handles this Blue Jays lineup, because I think outside of the Phillies, this is the most potent lineup that they're going to face in the postseason. We discussed the Brewers lineup wasn't much to write home about. The Reds just were awful. And the Phillies actually had a great offense. The Dodgers were just able to keep them in check. So I'm curious to see how they handle this Blue Jays lineup, whether or not Bo Bichette is going to be in there. That's a huge, big question mark if he's going to be healthy enough to play. But the biggest matchup I'm looking forward to is George Springer versus the Dodgers again. And we can get into that a little bit later, but I have an anecdote about George Springer during my time in Houston when I lived there that I'd love to share. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that matchup. Overall, Kevin, I think we're going back to back. I think the Dodgers are going to win this series because they are the better team and they've played like it.
Make sure to hit that like button. Thank you guys for tuning in the live stream. If you have questions for us, go ahead and submit some questions or drop below in the comment section what your World Series preview prediction will be. Who do you think takes care of it, and who is your World Series MVP? I'm sure we're definitely going to make our predictions and all that later on. So I want to start off, though. First off, we know what Blake Snell is. He's the game one starter. He's having a playoff run to remember. He's 3-0 for the Dodgers, 0.86 ERA over 3 starts. He's made 21 innings. He had 28 strikeouts. He has a 0.52 whip. He's coming off one of his best starts ever against the Milwaukee Brewers, where he went 8 innings, gave up no runs, 10 strikeouts. He was just absolutely lights out. And what's fun about Blake Snell is the Brewers were in the top 5. They were the 5th best team at not striking out, and he was able to carve them up like a jack-o'-lantern. The Toronto Blue Jays are another team. They don't strike out. They're the 2nd best team at not striking out. But I think one of the biggest differences between the Brewers and the Blue Jays is when you look at the AL East pitching as a whole, the Orioles staff was trash. The Red Sox, they had Crochet, but then they also had some dogs like Buehler that I'm sure they were able to pummel. The Yankees staff, Max Fried, good. Rodon, solid. But again, they have a lot of guys that don't strike out hitters. And then The Tampa Bay Rays, nobody in that starting staff other than maybe Ryan Pepio, I feel like is a big strikeout guy. So I feel like overall, those numbers can be kind of a mirage. And so even though the Jays have proven to be a disciplined team, I just don't think they've run into a force that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I think that's going to be a huge difference. And like examining the Blue Jays lineup as a whole, there's not too many hitters outside of maybe Guerrero Jr. and George Springer that I'm really nervous about.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, Dalton Varsho is a guy that runs into some good contact, some power. Obviously, Alejandro Kirk is no one to just sniff at. I think he's a guy you have to really focus on. But you get towards the bottom, and it's like Ernie Clement and Andres Jimenez and Barger. Those guys just don't strike fear into me. Now, the guy Lucas at the top of their lineup has been great this postseason, so he's kind of stepped it up. But overall, the Blue Jays have a solid lineup. It isn't as scary as the Dodgers, and like you mentioned, they don't strike out a lot. So I think they're going to be a formidable opponent. And you can't count out the fact that the Blue Jays are just a never die type of team. Like, you can never really count them out. You got to knock them out. The Mariners weren't able to do that, even though they started the series up 2-0 and they blew it. And even in the last game when they were up 3-1, their manager Dan Wilson pulled a rookie Dave Roberts move by just completely blowing the game by not going to his closer. It just felt like a rookie manager making a rookie mistake on the biggest stage possible, not going to Andres Munoz there, and instead sticking with Basardo, and who had pitched way too much in that series already. And George Springer just being George Springer in the postseason. He's just an all-time great, kind of like a Kike Hernandez, just an all-time great postseason hitter, home run hitter too. So, yeah, I think the Mariners just kind of screwed themselves, and the Blue Jays, it's not that they got lucky, but it was just that they were able to just never go away and keep it. So like, that's something that I fear, will be an issue for the Dodgers, is building a lead, right? And having these starting pitchers that we have go as deep as they can. And then it's time to turn it over to the bullpen. And that's kind of where it scares me. I think that's the Dodgers' biggest Achilles heel. We've discussed it all season long, and it's no secret. The other team knows that too. So they're going to be focused on getting these starting pitchers out of the game as early as possible.
I definitely think the Jays are the second best team that we're going to be facing in the playoffs. I still have the Phillies slightly ahead. I just think their starting staff is far more intimidating. And top hitters wise, Kyle Schwarber, I think, still the best hitter of these two teams combined. Then I would go Vlad Jr., but then I think I'd got to go probably Bryce Harper third, then Springer fourth, and then it kind of gets neck and neck. Trey Turner's still pretty good. But then they just shut down other guys who had good seasons, like Brandon Marsh, and Realmuto was solid. But I mean, looking at who these Blue Jays are in terms of their past history against Blake Snell, none of these guys have owned Snell. Now, albeit there isn't huge sample sizes, but like Ernie Clement, who's had a good playoffs, he's 1-for-5. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the one that we're going to really be paying close attention to, is 2-for-11 with 0 career home runs. He's hitting 182 against Snell with only 1 strikeout. So it's basically just been all balls put in playouts. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's kind of had some moments, especially in the ALCS, he's 0-for-3. Alejandro Kirk, who's a pesky hitter, 3-for-5. Davis Schneider, who's kind of like their version of Kike, a platoon bat, 1-for-4. Springer, 5-for-22 with 1 home run. And Varsho, 2-for-8, no home runs either. So only one Blue Jays hitter has taken Blake Snell deep, and that was George Springer once. So I think Blake Snell is going to be on his game. I think he has his eyes set on the finish line, and I'm honestly expecting another gem. I think he's going to go 7 innings again. Maybe he gives up 1 or 2 runs, but I think he's going to be on his game. I'm not concerned about Blake Snell at all.
I'm not either. I mean, he's earned it. He's proved it. He's been just one of the best pitchers ever in the postseason this year. Just unhittable. So I do expect him to to throw another gem. What would be nice though, Kevin, is for the Dodgers to jump out to a lead early in the
Yeah.
game. It just feels like there's so much pressure on these starting pitchers to hold teams at bay until the offense gets going. And it just would be nice to kind of jump all over this Blue Jays team and take a crowd out of it, because that, like we talked about at Citizens Bank Park, like that crowd at Rogers Center is rocking. It is a really, really good crowd. And so it's tough to play there when you're not winning. But if you can somehow take the crowd out of it, that's what the Dodgers are able to do in Philly. They took the crowd out of games, but they didn't do it early enough, in my opinion. I think that's got to be a goal. Just scratch some runs across. You get the first at bat anyway, right? As the away team. So let's get some runs across on the board first and give Blake Snell a lead, because the last thing you want is like a 0-0 game in the 6th or a 1-1 game in the 7th. And you got to take Snell out because his pitch count's getting up there, and you got to go to the bullpen in a tight game. And that's the only way that I feel like the Blue Jays have a chance to beat us, is if they get our starters out and they get to our bullpen and we're just not able to recover.
So I mentioned earlier, we don't know who's starting game 1 for the Blue Jays. I don't even know if the Blue Jays know who's starting game 1 for them yet either, as they still try to figure it out. Some early speculation is that they're going to turn the ball over to their rookie, Trey Yasevich, who he was someone that they were able to really count on, and he did well and thrived in some big games during their postseason run. During the regular season, he didn't even make that many starts. If I'm looking at this correctly, he only made 3 starts during the regular season. I need to double check that to make sure this is accurate. So I'm updating MLB. Apparently, according to MLB.com, he only made 3 starts in the regular season, only through 14 innings. From what I was hearing from some other Blue Jays experts as well, he was drafted last year and he was able to work his way up to get to the majors quickly. So this is like a top prospect. He's got a really bright future ahead. So this isn't like some random guy the Jays are throwing out there. But it seems like they're going to potentially go with Yesevich in game 1, maybe Gausman game 2, because he pitched an inning in game 7. So maybe they want to give him the extra day rest. I don't know. This is all speculation, but we're going to see Yesevich regardless. And just a quick breakdown on him. So he's a fastball, splitter, and slider pitcher. He really works on deceiving hitters through his slider and his splitter. So that's kind of something that we've seen with our Japanese guys. So if he's on those pitches, he's going to be a tough guy to knock out. But the guy has had some struggles with his command and has walked a lot of hitters. So that's kind of been his kryptonite. So that could work to the Dodgers' advantage. And his fastball is about 95, 96. So it's not like we're facing Mizorowski, who throws 100 and can shut us down. Like, I feel like 95, 96 is a pretty safe range where the Dodgers typically, can hit that type of velocity. So what I'm trying to say here is if he's not on his game with those secondary pitches, if he throws a fastball down the middle, I feel like the Dodgers are going to sit on that pitch, and that's the way to get to him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I think, we could hopefully, that's why I'm saying, like, let's build a lead early, because I'm hoping that, like, with a rookie on the mound in the first World Series game, he has to face Ohtani right off the bat. Like, I'm hoping that those nerves are kind of working against him in that way, and Dodgers can jump on it.
We got a super chat coming from Jose Machado. Thank you so much, Jose. We really appreciate the super chat. And it's a good question. Speaking of pitching, what were the Blue Jays' opponents' level of pitching compared to us? Have they faced a rotation like the Dodgers this postseason?
No.
Any thoughts, Jake?
No, they haven't. Because I don't think any team has ever faced a postseason rotation like the Dodgers. This is one of the best postseason rotations ever. I think you'd have to go back to like Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, of the Braves to find a rotation this just potent and scary. So I don't think that the Blue Jays have ever faced a rotation like this. And that's why people are kind of I guess going back and forth on the idea of like, are the Dodgers going to be rusty? They've had so much time off. They swept the Brewers, and they had a graphic I saw where it was like every time there have been a team that has gone 7 games in the previous series and a team that has swept a team in the previous series, and they go head to head, the team that went 7 games has won every time.
Yeah.
The Dodgers being one of those teams in 1988 when they had to go 7 games against the Mets, and the A's kind of blew through the competition and swept the ALCS to get to the World Series, and the Dodgers eventually won that. I don't really take a lot of stock in that. The reason I like the fact that the Dodgers have had so much time off is because they're so reliant on their starting pitching. And I think with this starting rotation, they need all the rest they can get, especially Yamamoto, especially Ohtani. Those guys are used to having, 6-man rotations in Japan. So I think that the more rest, the better for this rotation, because they're going to ride them, that they are going to ride them as long as they can go. So the time off, I think, is only helpful.
I mean, yeah, not to create narratives here, but the Dodgers had a much tougher path to get to the World Series than the Toronto Blue Jays did. And what I mean is the Dodgers had to take out the best and second best starting staff ERAs in the National League. Phillies were number 1. They took care of them in 4. Brewers were number 2. They took care of them in a sweep. The Texas Rangers had the best starting staff overall. They missed the playoffs. Actually, after those 2 teams I just mentioned, the Yankees are the second best starting staff in the American League at 361, followed by the Dodgers, who were 5th overall in Major League Baseball at 369. But I think why these stats you have to throw out the window for the Dodgers is because we were load managing the shit out of guys like Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani. There were a lot of innings that were logged by a Dustin May. You had to throw in a Matt Sauer, Tony Gonsolin, Bobby Miller blowups here and there. Like the Dodgers were using a ton of different starting pitchers throughout the first half, especially. And then they started to really weed in the Glasnows and the Snells, etc. The Yankees, they were able to rely on Fried and Rodon pretty much all year long, and maybe that was to their detriment because Fried especially imploded in the ALDS.
Yeah, they did. To me, more rest for these guys is better, and I'll stand by that. And I don't think it has any bearing on how they're going to perform in the World Series. I just don't. I mean, you can make the argument that like, okay, the Blue Jays have had, to kind of get through the Mariners in 7 games. And so they're kind of clicking and they've been through the war, whereas the Dodgers kind of, essentially cakewalked their way through the Brewers. It's like, yeah, well, that could mean something or nothing. And I don't think it matters.
Yeah. And it was kind of interesting. And I wonder if this is going to be kind of a tactic moving forward in Major League Baseball. The Mariners, their pitching just looked kind of gassed in the ALCS. Like Logan Gilbert, he didn't look like he was on his game. I think George Kirby had a blow up and then bounced back. Luis Castillo, a guy that I used to view as an ace, he wasn't really that impressive either. There were certain relievers in the Mariners bullpen that just imploded at times. They didn't go to Munoz in the right spots when they needed him to. That other guy, I think was it Bastardo or however you say it?
Yeah, Bizzardo. Yeah.
He gave up the 3-run shot to George Springer. That was an awful moment. And to, I think what you were just talking about a minute ago, the Dodgers are really rested. Like, I'm not going to even shy away from it. Shohei Ohtani had 13 days off in between his game 1 NLDS start and then his game 4 NLCS start. And he didn't miss a beat. And it seems like this guy doesn't need to be on a 5-day rest or 6-day rest cycle. It's just whenever it's his turn, they want to give him the ball. He is locked in. And we can talk about the greatest game ever in a second. But I think all this rest is going to be just perfect for guys like Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Ohtani, and the bullpen. Like, it's crazy that the Dodgers had to play a wild card series and they're the most rested team of any remaining team. Well, it's the 2 teams that left, but even before that, they were the most rested team.
I mean, obviously the season dictated this. And there was no way to really plan for this at the outset. But if you think about what happened last year, like the Dodgers had to just use their bullpen like crazy. I mean, it was like they were having bullpen games in the playoffs and they had to use those guys. And I think to a large degree, they're paying for it now with guys like Trinan and Vesia and, all these guys that had to pitch so much last year. They're feeling it this year and they're not performing as well. You take a look at this season and it's like the bullpen is the most rested bullpen of all time. They're not even using any of these guys. So maybe that can be to their advantage too. I mean, maybe these guys that come out of the bullpen will be sharper if they have to use them earlier in the game. But I think the plan is still trust your starters. And basically we're going to be using a combination of Dreyer, Sheehan, Trinan, Vesia, and Sasaki. And that's pretty much it.
I agree. I think the bullpen usage is going to again be kind of at a minimum, and I don't think they're going to have to rely on the bullpen fairly heavily. Like I think Blake Snell is going to go probably 7 innings again, and if he does that, he's not going to be Madison Bumgarner level. I'm not going to go that crazy, but he's going to cement himself as one of the biggest big game pitchers that this sport has seen in the 21st century. The fact that his ERA is below 1 after 3 postseason starts, the contract is already paid for itself, and they just need to seal the deal and win the World Series. And then I don't care what happens with the rest of Blake Snell's Dodger tenure, because the $168 million or whatever they paid for him, it's all worth it if they win the World Series, especially the way he's pitched. So that's how I'm looking at things. His contract has pretty much covered itself. Sasaki, I think they're going to turn to him to be the closer, especially if it's a close game in game 1. And then it's just trying to find that bridge. So if they really only need one more inning, just give it to Vesia, give it to Trinan, give it to Dreyer, whoever. It's been pretty easy for Dave Roberts so far.
Yeah, it has. And I think at this point, with some of the rosters and the bullpens that Dave Roberts has had over the years, he's kind of earned the right to just kind of sit back and watch and not have to make some really tough decisions. Although you never know. I mean, the World Series is so unpredictable. You never know what kind of decisions it'll come down to. I have a lot more trust in Dave Roberts than I ever have in years past. There were just a few moments like in that Brewers first game where he took Snell out. Like, I'm just like, dude, I could not believe that he did that. Like, I just could not believe it because it was just so shaky in that 9th inning with Sasaki and Vesia and Trinan. I mean, it was just so shaky. I just feel like Dave just kind of has a handle on what to do. It's like the formula is there. Just use the formula and react. And that's basically what he has to do. It's just crazy to me, though. It's like Blake Snell pitched for both the Padres and the Giants. He threw a no-hitter for the Giants and he won a Cy Young for the Padres. And neither of those franchises wanted to keep that guy around. I mean, especially if, they're trying to make a run at the division and knock the Dodgers out. It's just crazy to me.
I definitely fault, if you have to blame one team more, it's San Diego, because it's like clearly that's going to be your ace of the staff, and he should be like the face of the franchise in terms of starters. And he just won a Cy Young, and you let him walk in free agency. I feel like for the Giants, it was kind of just a business like 1-year agreement. I think they knew they weren't going to retain him, and I think his mind was already set at that point that he was going to jump ship to the Dodgers no matter what. And I think the Dodgers felt the same way. They were going to pay him whatever it took to bring him over. But yeah, I mean, that's just embarrassing for the Padres. Like, you pay guys like Xander Bogaerts, you extend Jake Cronenworth to these, and you overpaid Fernando Tatis Jr., and you won up your contract to Machado, but you can't pay Blake Snell, who has been good for you pretty much every year, and he dominated in the playoffs. And you can't bring that guy back. I'm sure they missed him a lot last season. If he was on their NLDS roster against the Dodgers, maybe that series goes in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, they had a two games to 1 lead over us, so maybe.
and they had to go with Dylan Cease on 3 days rest.
But they didn't have to. Who was the manager? It was Schilt, right?
It
Or
was
was it
Schilt.
Melvin? Schilt. It's like they didn't have to go with. I remember they didn't have to go with Dylan Cease. They just decided to do it, and it was just a terrible
They
move.
didn't. Yeah, yeah, they didn't have to, but I don't know who they would have gone with, to be honest.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but there was someone else that could have gone. I just can't remember who it was.
Very, talk about memorable then, but yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Their offense shit the bed the rest of the series anyway, so it didn't matter.
So Yoshinobu Yamamoto hasn't faced the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know if you had any kind of guesses or predictions of how his start might go in Toronto. I feel like so first of all, the Dodgers are undefeated on the road so far in the playoffs. They're 4-0. I still feel like Philadelphia is the most hostile environment to play in, as opposed to Milwaukee. That was kind of embarrassing. Like Brewers fans were never. It just felt like they didn't believe in their team. To be honest, I was not moved. Like they were fired up for the first inning, and then they were just dead. They were just quiet.
I mean, that's what the Dodgers did. They took the crowd out of the game, and that's just what they're going to have to do
But
again
Toronto
because
is loud.
Toronto is loud, and they've got that foghorn like sound when you hit a home run, and like they are going to be so pumped. Like you mentioned, they haven't been there since '93, so it is going to be rocking there. And that's why the Dodgers just need to take them out in the first inning. Because if the Dodgers get one, let's say the Dodgers get one in Toronto, they might get two, but let's say they get one, I think the series is over. I don't see the Blue Jays coming back after dropping a game at home. They better pray they get 2 games.
Make sure to hit that like button. Let's get to narrative one. So narrative one is 1 second. There we go. George Springer. I know you wanted to talk about George Springer, so I'll kick it off over to you.
George Springer is one of the best postseason hitters ever in terms of home run, clutch. He just is always up at the right time. And it's not only that, he comes through. If we look at George Springer, his career against the Dodgers in the regular season, it's kind of weird. I thought it would be a lot better than this. He's a 190 batting average with 2 bombs. But if you look at George Springer versus the Dodgers in the postseason, he's hitting 379, 11 hits, 5 of which are home runs, 7 RBIs, and 8 runs scored in 7 games versus the Dodgers. Now, obviously, that was all with Houston in the 2017 World Series, but he's shown no signs of slowing down in the playoffs, as evident of what happened, the other night against Seattle. But
Yep.
I have an anecdote about George Springer that I wanted to share with you guys that I think is pretty funny. So I used to be, for those of you that don't know, I used to be a sports and news reporter for about 10 years. One of the stops I made was in Houston. I was there from 2016 to 2018. And yes, I was there for the 2017 World Series. I was at game 4 and 5 in Houston. We won game 4, and game 5 was the craziest game I've ever been to, only to find out that they were cheating up the wazoo. But that was the Kershaw Kenta Maeda game that just, it was back and forth, and the Astros ended up winning 13-12. But before that World Series, I believe it was in 2016 or maybe in the beginning of 2017. I can't really remember, but this is kind of when George Springer was like an up and coming guy, maybe even a rookie at that point. And I knew who he was, I just, as a baseball fan, I knew the Astros team fairly well at that point. But I was doing a story on road rage in Houston, which was a huge issue there. It's like traffic is bad in Houston, not as bad as LA, but it's bad. And so I was covering road rage because there was a new study that came out, and I was trying to find like random people to talk to about it. So I went to a random gas station, and I started interviewing different people and asking them, their thoughts on road rage and how they felt about it. So I got to this gas station in Houston to do this road rage story, and I spot a guy getting out of a really nice car filling up his tank, and I go up to him and not thinking anything of it. And as a reporter, Kevin, like when we interview people, we ask them what their names are at the top so that we know how to spell it when we do the story later on. And so I literally go up to this guy and I'm like, hey man, we're doing a story on road rage. Like, would you care to answer a few questions? And he was kind of nervous, but I was like, he agreed. So I said, all right, sir, what's your name? Can you say and spell your first and last name for me? And he goes, and he kind of pauses and he goes, I'm George Springer. And I'm like, oh my God. I freaked out because I was so embarrassed that I didn't recognize him right away. But of course, as soon as he said who he was, I knew it right away. And I interviewed him for the story. It was funny. And then afterwards, my station clipped that segment, or just that little interaction that I had with him, and it went viral in Houston, and everybody was just getting on my case. They were saying, like, send Jake down to the minor leagues, like designate him for assignment. Like, people were on top of me about it. And I just remember just thinking how funny it was that, like, I'm a baseball guy and I know it so backwards and forwards that I couldn't recognize George Springer, but in the moment I couldn't really understand. I wasn't really like thinking about it. So yeah, that's my George Springer story. I've been, weirdly connected to him, I guess, since his time in Houston, and now he's coming back to face the Dodgers again in the World Series. And so, how are you feeling about George Springer going into this one, Kevin?
That was some riveting stuff right there. So full scope on George Springer, 883 career playoff OPS. So he's done a lot of damage. 23 career playoff home runs. That's got to be up there for top of the top of most all time. I mean, that's a lot of career playoff home runs. But I'm going to be honest. I don't think the Dodgers are going to let George Springer beat them. Like, this is a guy that's played way in over his head this season. And like, I don't know what got into George Springer to all of a sudden bounce back after a few like really down years. And what I mean by that, in 2023, he had a 732 OPS, 21 home runs, but a 732 OPS. The next year, last season, 19 home runs, but he only had a 674 OPS. Then out of nowhere, this season, 32 home runs, 959 OPS, had that big home run, obviously, in the ALCS. His playoff stats as a whole, he hit 176 against the Yankees, but he did much better against Seattle, 276 with 1,000 OPS and 3 home runs. But again, I don't think the Dodgers are going to fall into this George Springer trap and let him be the reason that they're going to that he's going to beat them. In terms of George Springer's weaknesses, I don't know, because I don't watch Blue Jays games very often. So I was going to pull up his Baseball Savant page and see kind of what pitches he thrives off of. So 333 batting average against fastballs. Maybe don't throw George Springer any fastballs, because that seems to be the pitch that he dominates. Changeups, he's hitting 207. So if I'm Blake Snell, I'm throwing him a lot of changeups and I'm making him try to beat me with that pitch.
I'm with you. But it's like Kike Hernandez, right? It's like he just figures it out in October, and he's a hitter that you just do not want to beat you. So if there's a way to pitch around him or try and get other guys out, and especially it's going to be key. The bottom of that order is going to be key, because when you face George Springer, you want to face him without anybody on base. So getting that bottom of the order out and not letting them turn the lineup over is going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's come back to Dodger Stadium since all that has come out, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But now that they're in the World Series, I have to imagine come game 3 and game 4, and if there's a game 5, those boos should be, if not louder, then just as loud as the Altuve and Correa boos.
I think it'll be just as loud. I think
I
it
really
will.
hope so.
Yeah, I don't think that Dodgers fans are going to forget. I mean, he's going to be the first at Dodger Stadium. He's going to be the first batter of the game, so
Yep.
it is going to be intense when he steps up to the plate in Dodger Stadium.
Narrative number 2, Don Mattingly. So this is Don Mattingly's first time ever reaching the World Series in any capacity, I believe. and he's
Yep.
doing that as the Blue Jays bench coach. So there's not really much to add in terms of his impact on the World Series. Just based off experience, I would think Don Mattingly is a negative asset to have on your team because he's not a good manager by any stretch. And everywhere he's gone, he hasn't been that impressive. I know he won Manager of the Year for the Marlins, but that was kind of like a Mickey Mouse Manager of the Year award. I think it was in 2020 when they were like the 7th or 6th seed, whatever the hell it
Yeah,
was.
they
But
made the playoffs.
they made the playoffs, and they beat the Cubs. But yeah, then they got bounced. I just wanted to talk shit about Don Mattingly real quick. So if there's anything you wanted to say about him, go for it. Otherwise,
The one thing I will say about Don Mattingly before you get to him is he was regarded as a pretty good hitting coach, like with the Yankees, and he also was our hitting coach at one point. So I think he does have value as a coach because he was a great player for the Yankees for so many years. He just was an awful manager.
get your revenge on Don Mattingly. He's honestly probably the worst manager I've ever seen for the Dodgers. Like, he had a good amount of talent and he just screwed it up every season. And I don't want to live in a world where Don Mattingly wins a World Series at the Dodgers' expense. So Kershaw's got to be the only one I think left that actually was under Mattingly's management. I can't imagine any other Dodgers is left at this point.
It wouldn't be Kike, would it?
No, Kike came over with Roberts, I think.
Yeah, so that Kershaw has to be the last of the Mohicans here.
Yeah. I see some people in the chat saying like Mattingly ruined Kershaw's career. He did not manage Kershaw or the bullpen very well or effectively in many October instances. So I will
How much
say,
of it though, like, let's be honest, like how much of it was Mattingly not using the bullpen correctly and Mattingly just not having enough weapons to use out of the bullpen? Like, I just feel like some of those teams were so thin, not only at starting pitching, but with the bullpen, that it was like, we can't almost have to ride Kershaw. But the thing that I fault him for is seeing when Kershaw was out of gas and not doing anything about it. But I wonder how much of those rosters actually were usable in those situations.
yeah, I mean, 2014 NLDS game 1 is like the biggest one I ever think about.
That was Cardinals.
Yeah. They had like a 7-1 lead and Kershaw was starting to lose steam, and yet Mattingly left him in there too long. And then Matt Carpenter hit the triple. And then the first guy he goes to out of the bullpen was Pedro Baez. And then Pedro Baez just made it almost an impossible deficit to come back from. The problem with Mattingly is he didn't take risks. Like Kenley Jansen should have probably come in situations that wasn't just the 9th inning. Like he didn't have the guts, and maybe that's an old school mentality that just didn't cross over to his type of game mindset. But he failed in instances like that.
Yeah, I think he trusted Kershaw, and not in the sense that he trusted Kershaw too much, but it was like he just didn't trust anybody else. I think in those spots, and I feel like it was also a sign of the times too, where it was more focused on starting pitching than bullpen, and like a move like bringing in your closer early was not really the norm. But I don't know. I just feel like as soon as you see your starting pitcher start to waver and lose steam, you just have to make a change, put someone else in there and hope for the best.
The next one is myself. The next one is Max Scherzer. This guy is such a schmuck. Like after the Blue Jays won Game 7, they interviewed Max Scherzer, and he acted like he was like a big part of their team all season long. I mean, Max Scherzer was awful for the Blue Jays in the regular season. He had a 5.19 ERA, and yeah, did he dick down the Seattle Mariners? Sure, but they're also the Seattle Mariners. I am not scared with Max Scherzer at all this World Series. I hope and I encourage the Toronto Blue Jays to pitch Max Scherzer as much as they want. And I hope the Dodgers kick his dead arm ass. This is a guy that screwed us over big time in 2021 when they needed him in the NLCS against the Braves, and he took himself out of the series, which was just pathetic in my opinion. And now here he is a few years later doing whatever it takes for the Toronto Blue Jays. I hope they shell him. Like I want to blow him out. Like this is the type of revenge that I am seriously looking forward to.
Yeah, I am too. It wasn't only the fact that he just like, quit or just had no like quote unquote dog in him, but it also set up Walker Buehler for failure. Like Walker Buehler should not have had to pitch on short rest because of Max Scherzer. That was the whole reason we got Max Scherzer. So I really hope that we're able to shell him.
Good point by BC pointing out that the Dodgers have already faced Max Scherzer earlier in the season. I remember watching that game. I'm pretty sure it was Clayton Kershaw versus Max Scherzer. It was like the battle of the old dudes. And I don't remember who won the outcome. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure the Dodgers got like 3 runs off Scherzer, and they did enough. I'm trying to find the game. So yeah, Scherzer. So Scherzer went 6. He gave up 2 runs. I can't tell who won the game. He took the loss. So the Dodgers won the game.
He was with the Blue Jays at the time?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers won 2 out of 3 in that series.
Right.
And then Ernie Clement happened in the last game. Yeah, I think that he has I looked it up. I was curious what Max Scherzer has done against us, and he has faced us 19 times and has a 2.38 ERA. So he does pitch well against us, but he is a lot older and he was a lot worse this year. So I'm hoping that is in our favor.
Right. Okay, so shifting gears, I want to talk about kind of now which hitters on the Dodgers side you're like really eyeing in this World Series, who is going to stand out. I'm dropping the link right now in our YouTube chat to join the Discord. If you haven't yet, now's the time to get in, especially with the World Series happening in a couple days. So talk with all the best Dodger fans. Discord links available. Dodgers hitters, Jake, who you got on your mind?
I think Shohei Ohtani comes alive in this series. We've been waiting for him to wake up, and it looked like the Brewers may have awakened something in him in that final game, because he was pretty awful at the plate during that series and then kind of backed his way into that NLCS MVP with 1 game. And it was kind of funny because he was bad the whole series, and then he hits 3 home runs, and all of a sudden now his NLCS average is up to 357, and he has over 1,000 OPS, and then he strikes out, 10 guys, and it's just like the most incredible game ever. So I feel like Ohtani is going to basically say, we're winning back to back. He's going to lift this team to a World Series title. I also think the Blue Jays fans are going to get on him, I think, in these first 2 games, because he essentially chose the Dodgers over them. I mean, it was the Dodgers and the Blue Jays at the end, and he chose the Dodgers. And so I feel like the Blue Jays fans are going to let him hear it. And I think that's going to be a mistake, because he's going to make them pay. That's an obvious choice, I think, for standout guys, but I'm really looking for one of the unsung guys, like a Max Muncy or a Tommy Edman, to have a great series. Like, I really want to see Max Muncy have a fucking phenomenal series in the World Series against this Blue Jays team. And so he's going to be my pick outside of Ohtani.
So are you saying that this is the Ohtani Bowl? Because there were certain reporters that indicated that the Blue Jays and Shohei Ohtani had agreed to a deal with falsified information. And then you had John Morosi say that Shohei Ohtani was en route to Toronto, and Bob Nightingale, who was on the show with us, broke down that story. It's a really awesome interview. He told us he texted Ohtani's agent, and that was not indeed what was happening.
Yeah, or how about your boy JP Hornstrom?
I know. The one that out of nowhere, he decided he was going to break the news. It's official. Ohtani is going to Toronto.
He's on a plane.
That worked out well.
Yeah, that worked out well. I love that narrative. I think that narrative works well in our favor versus theirs. It's just like it's like pissing off Kobe or pissing off Michael Jordan. It's like you do that and you pay for it. And Otani's that type of player. So I feel like if they get on him in game 1, he's going to shut them up himself.
So I have a few predictions of what I think is going to happen. For World Series MVP, I'm going to go with Mookie Betts. I was looking up his Toronto lifetime numbers, and he just does awesome at the Rogers Center. He has like a 968 career OPS in Toronto, and obviously playing in the AL East for a number of years, he's just comfortable in that ballpark and is probably he's not familiar with most of those Jays pitchers because they're all new, but he's familiar playing in Toronto. So I think playing in that dome environment is going to be awesome for a guy like Betts. I also agree. I think Shohei Ohtani hitting in a dome is going to boost his power numbers as well. We're only going to play 2 games in Toronto for the first two of the series. So it's probably going to be Gestevich and Gaussman if I had to guess, and then they may go to Bieber and Scherzer for the next 2. I think the Dodgers are going to split in Toronto. I think they're going to win game 1. I don't know about game 2, but it's Yamamoto. He can obviously deal. I'm just worried that Gaussman might outpitch Yamamoto, but we'll see. Otani has like a 1,000 OPS as well, lifetime in Toronto. So I'm trying to find the stats, but a lot of these Dodger hitters have done well. Like Will Smith in a small sample size, 1,400 OPS in Toronto. Teoscar Hernandez has an 800 career OPS in Toronto, and I think he's going to want some revenge against those Blue Jays as well.
His old team.
Yep.
Gaussman career numbers against the Dodgers, he's 2-3 with a 3.57 ERA in 9 appearances, which is pretty good. And the last time he faced us was actually last year, pitching for Toronto. He went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, and struck out 5. So he's good against us. I think if he goes game 2, like we're expecting, I think I'm with you. I think the Blue Jays could get that game. I think I'm with you on your predictions, but I don't know. With the way the Dodgers are playing, I'm just like, who can get this lineup out? This lineup is so potent, and if they are, playing half up to their standards, like it's just going to be a long. Actually, it could be a short series for the Blue Jays. I'm like, if this Dodgers lineup puts up 3 to 4 runs a game, which is kind of nothing for them, the starting pitching is just too good. I just don't see where the Blue Jays are going to get their runs from, or against, I should say.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Freddie Freeman was the World Series MVP last season. He had that stretch where he hit 4 home runs in 4 days, whatever it was, and he just went off every day. He was hitting home runs, including the walk-off grand slam in game 1. I think him having that Canadian heritage and him playing for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic, I'm sure he's going to be motivated and fired up to be playing some World Series games in Toronto. So I just think there's a lot of advantages for the Dodgers. It sounds like from a World Series roster construction standpoint, they're going to run it back with the same squad they had in the NLCS. There might be one change, and if you can guess what that one change is, I'm going to let you have that guess. Otherwise, I'll spoil it.
The one change on the roster?
Yes.
Go for it. I need to think.
Tanner Scott, just who we all want to see. He had his butt surgery to remove that abscession or whatever it's called off his ass. I guess that was bothering him. I'm sure he's going to blame that in the off season for why he struggled and gave up 10 home runs and 10 blown saves and whatnot. But if they have to make a change and they want to go with Tanner Scott, I could see them taking Robleski off the roster and putting Tanner Scott on.
Which I don't even know why. Like, why would you do that? Like, are you like, to me, it's like you add Tanner Scott on and the idea is that you use him, right? I mean, what is if you're not going to use him, then what is the point? Just keep Wrobleski on there. I think Wrobleski has much more of a use, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know why I can't speak right now, but he would mean much more to this team than
Yeah.
Tanner Scott would, because where are you going to use Scott? You're not going to use him in high leverage. If you do, that's malpractice.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Wrobleski is the Blue Jays are pretty right-handed heavy, and so you're probably not going to find a role for Wrobleski. The only reason you would have Tanner Scott on is if for some reason you need him to come out in like the 5th or 6th inning, and you just want to bank on Tanner Scott actually putting it together. But yeah, I think he's at the very bottom of the depth chart. I mean, if they're going to punt a game or they just need some innings, they'll go to Kershaw and go that route. They have Ben Kasparius. They can use him. They've got Banda. They've got Dreyer. And they didn't even need to use Dreyer at all in the NLCS. We'll see how much of the bullpen the Dodgers actually need to have in the World Series. I'm sure it'll be a little bit more because the Brewers, to be honest, they kind of rolled over and died. It was almost pathetic. Like I was really underwhelmed with the Brewers. They were just bad.
I mean, you kind of called it. Their lineup just on paper just does not do anything for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they were like that decent in the regular season. Like Christian Yelich hasn't had an RBI in the playoffs since 2018. Jackson Churrio's hamstring was about to implode like 3 times in the last month.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I'm just like, they just were not, that they were outclassed. I mean, completely outclassed by us. But I mean, look, you look at the Dodgers bullpen, right? Like I mentioned it before. I forgot to include Banda, but you got Banda, Dreyer, Vesia, Treinen, Sasaki, Sheehan. It's basically the guys that you would trust. I guess the only reason to have Tanner Scott on there is because they're paying him a lot of money, but based on track record this year, I don't know how he's earned that.
Yeah. I think it's like a last ditch hurrah, or you're in extra innings and you've used everyone and now you just need to go with Tanner Scott, unfortunately.
Yeah, now you need to lose the game. Just put him in there.
If you haven't hit that like button yet, smash the like button. We'll take some questions now. If you got questions for me or Jake as we get to the World Series, we're actually going to be joined by a very special guest who's making a cameo appearance. So let me let him in. It's Evan from LA in a minute. He's hopping on. What's going on?
What is up, boys? How you doing?
Evan, good to see you, buddy.
Sorry so late. Sorry limited time, but I absolutely wanted to jump on. I'm at home in the middle of it's called a dinner break right here, but I'm here and I'm live.
That's fantastic. I have a question for you, Evan, as you know, you hop right in here.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Kevin about his confidence going into this World Series. Where is your confidence level at right now?
It's a great question. Okay, it's lower than it was when we kicked the ish out of the Brewers. That is actually, I'll give you my progression. End of the season, little shaky. I was a little worried about the bullpen heading into the playoffs. The way we handled the Reds, Roki coming up. I was like, this is interesting. Phillies, it's a tough series. Could have gone any way. 2 of those games that we won could have gone the other way. But it was battle-hardened, good postseason baseball. I was pretty damn confident. Then the Brewers series, I was like, dude, bring on the world. Let's go. We got this. This team is clicking. Man, just watching those Blue Jays, watching the fans, watching Vladdy, watching Springer, dealing with the layoff, dealing with the fact that it's 32 years since the Blue Jays' last title, the same as the Dodgers drought when we won in 2020. Started to get very nervous. Didn't love Springer hitting that game-winning blast. But now that it's cooled down a little bit and like I'm starting to digest it and intellectualize it, I'm like, being fully honest, I'm 60 to 65% confident that we're going to win. That's where I'm at. I don't see how this goes less than 6 games, put it that way. So that's the kind of series I'm expecting.
It's above 50%, so that's pretty good. I was kind of thinking about the years past, right? The years past that we've been in the World Series. So 2017, I was kind of just like wide-eyed and like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fun. And it
We
went
were
7
happy to
games
be
and
there.
it was crazy. We were happy to be there. 2018, I was like, the Red Sox clearly are the better team, but we might have a shot to steal a game. And then Dave Roberts happened in game 4, and that was horrible.
Right.
2020, I had confidence going against the Rays, but after what happened against the Braves, where we went down 3-1 and had to come all the way back, I still wasn't like 100% certain. And then the game 4 happened where it was the Kenley Jansen, Chris Taylor debacle, and Brett Phillips, scored the winning run, and it was where he knocked in the winning run, and Rosarena fell down. Like, that was crazy. 2024, I was confident, but it was like the big bad Yankees, so that could prove an issue for us. And we were losing in game 1 until Freddie Freeman happened.
Yes.
I would say that going into this World Series, I am the most confident out of any of the previous ones.
Hey, okay.
Just based on the fact that this Dodgers team is probably one of the best I've ever seen.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'll fast forward because this is kind of with No Name's question as well, so we can tie it all together about how nervous we are. I'll fast forward to 2020. I'll be honest. I felt like we were beating the Rays. Like, when you come back from a 3-1 deficit over the Atlanta Braves, like, you're not going to lose that World Series. So I felt very confident we're going to take care of the Rays.
Okay.
Now looking ahead to 24 and 25, the Yankees, I still felt like we were going to beat the Yankees, but I'm less confident about beating the Yankees than I am about beating the Toronto Blue Jays. So with that being said, I am very confident that the Dodgers are going to take care of business against Toronto. I got the Dodgers in 5.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Okay, I love that spirit. And let me dive in. I know you guys probably covered all this ground, but I got to articulate it. Blue Jays lineup is solid. Okay, they have like 4 legit guys. Bichette might be coming back. Blah blah blah. Now there are a couple holes. I think the Dodgers lineup is deeper and stronger. Fee, get Bams for 1 sec. I think, sorry, our dogs, we have a 16-year-old dog, and sometimes he goes a little senile and starts barking at nothing. So I think their rotation, look, I'm not going to downplay it because, again, any given day, do I have confidence? Like, put it this way, even earlier in the postseason, when Scherzer was starting, I was like, get at it. And I know he did well. But before the game, I was like, Scherzer, really? That's who? And Bieber, I like Bieber, but fresh off of a Tommy John, like, guys never bouncing back. And Bieber looked solid, but he's not like dominating. He's not Shane Bieber. So the rotation is a little bit fallible, but the bullpen is trash. And I know that was the MO about the Dodgers going into the playoffs, but I think the Blue Jays bullpen is legit trash. And I'm like this. We're going to ding their start. We're not going to rope their starter, score a shitload of runs, but we're going to get to them. 5th inning relief pitcher, 6th inning relief pitcher, and bring on the bullpen, because that's when the Dodgers do their work. So that's where I'm like, all right. When I think about it in those terms, I'm like, we just are the better team, the deeper team, and our strength, one of our strengths, our lineup, because as you said, this is a great team top to bottom. But that lineup against that bullpen, or even against those, and yes, Gausman's good too. I know I didn't mention Gausman, but I'm confident from that perspective. My only concern, as I said, is like the magic, the juju, the momentum, the fans, the fact that they got the country behind them, it's LA versus Canada, not LA versus Toronto. All those factors are the ones that concern me. And those are the ones that like don't show up on paper. So I see your point. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, the Brewers have some guys, right? I mean, they've got Flu Hardy, who's a pretty good lefty in the bullpen. Their closer really just does not do much for me. They got, and I'll get to Jeff Hoffman in a second. They also got Louis Varland. He doesn't really move me that well. But Jeff Hoffman, their closer. Their closer, I mean, he has pitched really well in the postseason. He's pitched in 6 games, and he has a 1.23 ERA with 12 strikeouts and a whip well under 1. But during the regular season, he had a 4.37 ERA coming out of the bullpen, 33 saves, and his career
look at his home runs
postseason
allowed, by the way. Sorry, I didn't check, but I keep hearing like he gave up so many home runs during the season. Sorry.
Yeah, and also he's a right-handed reliever. The Dodgers hit right-handed pitching very well, and his career postseason ERA is 5.17. So it just he doesn't really move me. So I just feel like even if it gets to that point where they're bringing in Jeff Hoffman, whether it's in high leverage or at the end of the game to close a game, like I always feel like this Dodgers team has a shot. And it's just a matter of making sure that the starting pitching in the bullpen keeps the Blue Jays at bay to give the Dodgers offense enough time to get hot. Because as we know, it takes them oftentimes it does take them 5-6 innings to get going.
Yeah, that's a good point. But again, to me, the Achilles heel of the Blue Jays is going to be look, this is cliche, this is a trope, but whatever bullpen is better is going to be a huge factor, if not the determining factor of the World Series.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the bullpen up until right now, so I'm glad Evan brought it up. But the Blue Jays bullpen, yeah, I mean, it's the first go around where they don't really have true shutdown relievers, in my opinion, that can move me or scare me. Like the Phillies had Duran, the Brewers, they had guys like Uribe, McGill, just shutdown guys that they can bring out.
Bullpen was kind of nasty. I'll be honest. That Brewers bullpen was kind of nasty, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honing and Ashby and all that. They have weapons, but Toronto, I just feel like they don't have that guy. Like Jake brought up Fluharty, who's like pretty much their key lefty, but he has a 6.23 playoff ERA going in 2025. Down the stretch with the Blue Jays, he had a 5.40 ERA over his last 28 innings thrown. So he's kind of been falling apart. Jeff Hoffman, I'm not scared of him either. He kind of reminds me of like a Daniel Hudson type, so I don't think he's going to be unhittable. I think we can get to Toronto's bullpen.
Hoffman is a weakness. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Again, he's a big league pitcher. I know that, but Hoffman is not a closer's closer. Put it that way. He's no Trevor Hoffman. Or guys like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like he's like the Walmart Trevor Hoffman. It's like we don't have Trevor, but we have Jeff.
That's a great bit.
So this is an interesting question. It's definitely crossed my mind. Jacob Perez, would you want to see Kershaw throw the last out of this World Series?
If we're up by 10 or something like that, yes, that would be sick. I think it's worth talking about Kershaw because they used him in the Phillies series, and that was the one game we lost. And when they brought him in, it was 3-1. And still a game that I thought was winnable for the Dodgers. And they let Kershaw kind of just go out there and eat innings and get absolutely destroyed. And
I was pissed off.
I just hope that Dave Roberts doesn't do that this time around. Like, I really hope that if they have to take the starter out and it's 3-1 or we're down by 2 or 3 runs, that like we play each game to win, because I just feel like, as we've outlined with this Blue Jays bullpen, they're gettable, and this Dodgers offense can build an inning at any given moment. So I just hope we don't go to Kershaw in one of those moments. But yeah, if we're up by like 5-6 runs in the last inning to close out the World Series, why not?
It would be beautiful. And Jacob, I think, was the name. That was like a dream. I even wanted to see him in the Brewers series just because I didn't want his last outing, my last memory of Kersh, to be that, I don't know, what do you allow, 6 runs in 1+ inning? And I'm not even blaming Kersh. He got out of that first inning against the Phillies. And I don't know if you guys remember, it was 1 out on the bases and 2 line shot outs. Like the 3 outs he got were not like well pitched the way Kershaw's been pitching this year outs. And I was like, scoreless inning, take him out.
By the way, Evan, we were all saying that. We were like, we escaped with our lives. Get him out of this game. Anybody else to see him come back out there, I was like, we're fucked. It was the same thing that happened in 2019 against the Nationals in the NLDS. Same exact thing. He comes in and he gets Adam Eaton out, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Then they bring him back out there, Juan Soto and
Rendon,
and that was it.
But look, in a dream, one of you guys said it. I don't know if it was Jake or Kev. If the Dodgers are up 10-1, knock on wood, by all means, bring up Kersh, but have somebody ready to go. Just have somebody ready to go.
Always.
But I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
It's the World Series, so you can't really anticipate a blowout. But I do feel like Dave Roberts is going to really try to push that narrative. If the Dodgers are up maybe 4 runs and you have a guy warmed up in the bullpen, just in case. But I do feel like they want Kershaw's last memory to be him closing out the World Series. Like I feel like that's the script.
Oh, that would be brilliant, beautiful, the best, such a perfect baseball thing, especially for Kersh. We all know how much he deserves it. And like, again, great guy, great pitcher, great legacy. Still can't escape some of the stigma, deservedly. So it would be very, very, very nice. Did you guys talk about Tanner Scott yet?
We did.
Did I miss?
But what are your thoughts?
Give me a recap, honestly.
Well,
okay,
we were basically saying that it looks like he might be on the roster for the World Series.
I think he will. I think it's weird, man. We all saw the same thing this year, time after time after time. He's not the Tanner Scott that he was last year, but at some point he was Tanner Scott, and I'm like, look, I don't give Conforto the benefit of the doubt. Let's not even like he's not even in the conversation. But Tanner Scott, I'm like, I remember how dominant he was for a period of time. And maybe this time off, he's refreshed. I mean, I don't know. Is he going to be on the roster? Do we know yet? What's the take on that?
Basically, our takeaway is that they're still deciding whether to add Tanner Scott and maybe take off like a Justin Robleski because they don't really need Robleski. So you just have that one extra bullet in the armory in case you need to go to Scott. But I think he's at the bottom of the depth chart. I think they have still a number of relievers they can count on.
That bullet might be a blank, honestly. I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it, and I don't know what situation you would bring him in. I mean, again, it would have to be like a Kershaw thing where like they're either up big or down big, and here comes Tanner Scott to get an inning of work in. But I think the Dodgers, like we've said, the Dodgers have a formula. Dave Roberts has a formula. It's worked the entire postseason. Don't stray from that. Don't get cute. Don't try and force the issue because we need to win back-to-back and we're not messing around. So stick with what's worked.
That's mama. Sorry, guys. Give me your take. How confident are you guys in Treinen? Did you discuss that yet?
I would say my confidence in Treinen is a little bit more solidified after what I've seen after he kind of, blew up earlier in the postseason. Yeah. I just feel like it's one of those, like you've been able to trust him before. So you kind of go to him again. And I think outside of Sasaki, he's our best right-handed reliever, maybe Sheehan. But like I think in terms of trust, I think Treinen is right there. He's not my first choice out of the pen, but he's definitely one of them.
I agree. And Treinen's a guy that again had a rough year, but every time I see him, I'm like, that stuff is just so nasty. Like, and again, he's been stable. I feel good, but where you guys stand on Sheehan right now? Because he hasn't exactly been sparkling in the postseason either, although he hasn't been throwing too much.
I think with Sheehan, it's just kind of adjusting to a high leverage role. And I think his stuff is too good to blow up, to be honest. I think they are going to need to rely on him in one of these games. It's just unlikely that Blake Snell and Yamamoto are going to pitch 8 and then a complete game shutout again, back to back. The Jays are going to put up more of a fight. But I'm comfortable going with Sheehan in the 6th or the 7th or the 8th. I think if he can get 6 outs in one of these games, that'd be massive. But I'm a Sheehan guy. I believe in him.
Same. That's true. Honestly, ultimately, me too. What about Bando? What about Dreyer?
Yeah, I mean, plug and play. They're proven high leverage guys. Evan, I was going to ask you this because I think there's been a lot of comparisons lately with the way the Dodgers are just rolling through the competition. Does this Dodgers team kind of give you that 2001 Lakers vibe?
So funny. My buddy, I'm going to be honest with you. My buddy said it before the postseason, which was ballsy at the time, if you remember, where he said that Lakers team not snuck in. Sorry. They had all these expectations, but they limped in, to the postseason. And then they just flipped that switch. They always say you can't flip the switch. Shaq literally knew how to like flip the switch. Not to say the Dodgers are flipping the switch, but it is such a powerhouse. How many Hall of Famers are on this team, and the way that they have just gone about their business. And here's one thing about the Dodgers that I don't know of any team, that 2001 Lakers or anything across any sport, is they're so professional. All these guys are like just professionals, not just great players, but literal go about your business and be a great player kind of guy, head down, grind, and be a superstar. Like, that's a pretty unique approach. And the Dodgers have like 5 of those guys, you know what I mean? Where it's like, going back to Kevin's point, would it shock me if the Dodgers won in 5? No, it would not. I don't think it's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me. So they don't necessarily remind me, quote unquote, but it's a good comp.
All right, so we're gonna get near kind of the finish line here, but obviously Evan is LA in a minute on his social media. You've been blown up. You're just dropping all kinds of awesome content that like will come across my Instagram or X, or even I think Facebook at times. And it's like, it'll be like the most random thing sometimes, like a restaurant that I went to like 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Now I can learn about this story. What kind of things are you cooking up these days?
Oh man, I got one on the, you know where I went? I went down to San Pedro the other day. I don't know if you guys go down there, how familiar you are.
Been a while.
San Pedro is a pretty unique place that's not really a destination for a lot of people, but I feel like it's like what do they call it? Hidden gem community. They got the Vincent Thomas Bridge, which is like the teal suspension bridge. They have the shortest freeway in LA. I just reported on that. They have there's an island off San Pedro called Terminal Island. I always wondered what Terminal Island was. It's a man-made island that used to be the home to the biggest Japanese population in LA during internment. Unfortunately, they moved all the residents to Manzanar and then demolished all their homes. And now it's like a home for shipping containers. And it's really crucial for the port, because the port, which is also in San Pedro, is the economic engine of the United States, not just LA, but $40 billion worth of trade goes through the port every year. So San Pedro is this like important, amazing, expansive community that none of us ever go to and none of us ever see. And it has so much history. So I did a few stories like down there. That's kind of like the big thing today, more interesting and more germane to this conversation. I did a comp of the World Series ticket prices. Everybody, including myself, is complaining about this year's ticket price. I got a family, and luckily I only have one kid, so there's 3 of us. But to go to a World Series game, that's going to cost us minimum $2,500 out the door, before food, before the $140 parking. And I was like, that's ridiculous. What did it used to cost? So I put together what it cost last year. It's cheaper than last year, if you guys remember. But 2018, 2017, 1988, 1981, I did the prices. So that was my most.
What was it in the 80s?
You're not going to believe this. In 1981, face value to get into the park was $5. $20 to be in the reserve, $40 to be in the field, and even scalpers, which was the secondary market back then, $100 to sit on the field in 1981. Now in 88, I was actually surprised, because it was $50 to sit in the reserve level, $100 to sit in the field, but the secondary market, it was $750 for field level. And in 1988 dollars, I was like, all right, that's a bit shocking, I feel like, for 1988. So I actually felt better about this year's prices. Not that I'm going to be paying those, unfortunately, but I was like, that's the market. It's LA. When you're in LA, you got a lot of people with money. You got a lot of Dodger fans. People want to go to the game. The old supply and demand. I'm not shocked. But here is what did surprise me. 2018, I didn't remember this. We did go to a game We actually went to the Rich Hill game, by the way. But tickets, even on the secondary market, were $300. $380 was the get-in price in 2018, which I didn't remember. That sounds like a bargain now. If I saw tickets for $380, I'd be snapping them up. Put it that way.
Yeah,
So
I was even shocked that team made it to the World Series.
Yeah.
That team was such a strange one. But
and like you said, Jake, that was the one time where the Dodgers felt like an underdog, like where you were like, oh, that Red Sox team, JD Martinez and his Mookie Betts, like that was a good squad.
No, the Red Sox were a team of destiny. And actually, I was at the 18-inning one the night before. The Max Muncy home run. And so when Puig hit that home run in Game 4 to put them up 4, I was like, oh my God, we actually have a shot to win this World Series. And then, Rich Hill.
Dave
Roberts took the ball from Rich Hill, which he shouldn't have. And the funny thing is like this year, Dave Roberts isn't going to do that. They have to rely so heavily on the starting pitching that he's not going to lift a pitcher prematurely.
No, I love it. I love it. Leave them in. I hate, the saying it's better to pull them batter early than a batter late. Nah, these guys just go with your dogs, go with your horses. And I think Roberts understands that.
One final topic I have for you guys.
For sure.
Andy Pages. He's hitting 086 this postseason. And he's had a few moments like when he put the ball in play to beat the Phillies. And there's been a couple of moments where he laid down some bunts. He also knocked in a run in the Brewers series as well. So there have been signs that he's going to come out of his slump. But are we expecting big things from him in this World Series?
Oh, what a good question. What a good question.
No.
No, Kevin?
But I'll let Evan elaborate first, and then I'll give a quick sentence.
Look, I like him. Obviously, I think we all like him. But who's your alternative? Let's put it that way. Are you going to go with Alex Call? I like Alex Call. I think Pages has the opportunity or has the potential to strike the big blow. And it seems, hasn't looked like it in this postseason, but it seemed, I'll say past tense, Pages felt like a guy to me that didn't shy from the big moment. And again, this postseason, he hasn't been that guy, but that's the impression I had of him. I'm running him out there in Game 1, and then I'll make difficult decisions on that. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's starting. I just wonder if he's going to hit above 100.
Yeah. I've been saying every game, keep Andy Pages out there. There isn't a better alternative. He did have a big RBI double. I think that was in the most recent game. Obviously, Ohtani stole the show there, but Pages did have a big RBI single or double, whatever it was. But I mean, with Pages, it's just not a good matchup for him. I mean, it's going to be a lot of right-handed starters and guys that throw splitters like Gaussman and sliders like Scherzer and Bieber. But Pages is fine in the 9-hole. I'm not expecting him to do much, but if there's a runner on third with less than 2 outs, just get me the sac fly and I'm good.
I know that's my thing is like, I just wish Pages could, if he's continuing to not hit well, is to maybe change his approach at the plate a little bit. Like let's look for a walk. Let's look to get on base. I mean, that 9-hole spot is key for Ohtani. Like you got to turn that lineup over. You have to get on base somehow. And I just feel like a lot of the time he swings out of his shoes when he shouldn't. And
situational hitting's a little bit.
Yeah, his situational hitting is just, I wish it was a little bit better going through a slump like this. That's all.
So let's do our World Series MVPs real quick, and then we'll get on out of here. So as a recap, I'm going Mookie Betts.
I'm going Ohtani.
I'm going to go Max Muncy.
That was my other pick that I said earlier. So that's great.
It took me so long to get on the Muncy bandwagon. Not that he hasn't been great, but he just sort of like annoyed me personality wise, not as a player. And I was like, and now I love him. Now I just see he's a dog. He's a Dodger rolling up his sleeves, like doing what it takes. Give me Max Muncy. Let's go.
Love it.
Love it. Muncy's been one of my favorites for a long time.
Deserve.
All right. Well, that's all I got. Any final thoughts, Evan?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be fun. And my son's birthday is on November 1st, which is game 7. So I'm just hoping for my own mental faculties that the Dodgers wrap it up before 7. So I'm saying Dodgers in 6.
Perfect.
I am very much looking forward to this series. I was trying to, a lot of people asked me during the Blue Jays Mariners series, like, who would you rather face? And honestly, I didn't have an answer. I mean, I think my go-to is to say the Mariners just because it would give us home field advantage. But I think both those teams are so evenly matched. But then my other thought was, who cares? Like, the Dodgers are going to win this series. They just are. They're the better team, and they're not going to get to the World Series and not win it back to back. So I'm fully confident that they're going to get this job done.
Yes, love that.
All right, that's our 2025 World Series preview episode. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Incline Dodgers podcast. Make sure to give Evan a follow at LA in a minute. He's got you covered with all kinds of LA things. I got more questions, but I'll ask you off air so I don't derail this thing. Thank you guys for listening. Hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you all. We'll be back after game 1.